Welcome to the Live, Feel, Be Inspired podcast. My name is Carlos Cirillo, and I am going to bring you inspirational tools, tips, wisdom, and stories from incredible people from around the world to help you live, feel, and be inspired in your daily life. So tune in, take notes, and let's get inspired. Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of the Live, Feel, Be Inspired podcast. My name is Carlos Cirillo. I am your host, and I am super excited to share with you all these incredible conversations, tools, tips, and wisdom to help you find inspiration in your daily life. So if you've taken time to join in and tune in to this episode, whether you're watching or listening, thank you so much. I am so grateful. I know I've had a podcast in a previous life, so if you have been a part of that and you've come over, welcome back. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. Welcome to the community of inspiration. So, why inspiration? Who am I? What am I doing? Why do I want to do it? All the fun things I thought I'd start off with in this first episode. So for me, my name's Carlos Cirillo. I'm 28 years old. I am a mentor, a coach, a results coach, a meditation teacher. I'm the founder of the Inspired HQ, founder of Sala Wellness and Team Media. I facilitate different events, programs, and retreats and all the fun things. And I do what I love, and I love what I do. And that has led me to doing many, many things over the course of my life, and many things that I do right now. It's really hard to narrow it down into one thing. And I guess why there's so many things is because I'm just inspired by life. I'm inspired by different passions that I have. I'm inspired by different people. And that allows me to try different things and take a lot of action. And I think inspiration has played a big part in me being able to take that action in my life. Now, why? I'll get a bit deeper into my story later, but why live, feel, be? So if you're living inspired, actually, what does inspired even mean, right? So I went and looked this up, and inspired means to ignite, encourage, and to breathe air into something. So when you're breathing, let's take a deep breath together, right? Inhaling in and out. That is to inspire. So as you're breathing, you're inspiring yourself. Now, it also then goes on to say that think of it like a spark, and when you're blowing on a spark or a flame, it starts to get bigger and bigger. So the way I see that in this podcast and in these conversations and all of these things is you have a spark within you. And that spark is either the dreams and goals that you've had since childhood or they've recently come up, or a spark of, I want to do this in the world. I want to be this type of person. I want to live this type of life. Let this podcast be the blowing of air on your flame to make it turn into this inferno of inspiration. And no matter where you are in life right now, a little bit more inspiration is always going to be a good thing. And now I see that as, even for me, like, if we can ignite it through a person. So for me, growing up, think about back to when you were a little kid. Who inspired you most? For me, of course, mum and dad, my older sister. And then as I grew up, it was like Batman, it was Spider-Man. And what actually inspired me about these people? Well, they were always played out to be the good guy in all of these cartoons, but they were inherently doing good in the world. They were stopping the bad guys. They were helping the Samaritans of the world. And I was like, that inspires me. Then growing up, I started kicking a soccer ball, and I got quite good at it. Got to play a lot of places in Australia, got to play internationally, got to play in Europe for 2 years. And who inspired me then were my favorite soccer players, like the Paolo Maldinis, the David Beckhams, hence why, if you're watching this, my hair's bleach blonde at the moment. I love that he used to change his hair, and that's inspired me with a lot of things that I've done. And then going past that phase, and I guess that identity, moving into the personal growth space, people like Tony Robbins inspired me, will still inspire me. Joe Dispenza, Dr. John Demartini, all these people, and Peter Crone, like people that were just doing really good in the world and giving back in such big ways. Yes, it was inspiring the results they've created, but I was also inspired by the impact they were having. And that's inspired me to always want to help and serve in as many ways as possible. So along my journey of then playing soccer, having, my moment of, I don't want to do this anymore. I like it. I don't love it. It's not inspiring me anymore. I found inspiration through business, through entrepreneurship, through starting businesses, having multiple jobs. And if anyone started a business, you'll know it's a roller coaster. I've had 6 to 8 different businesses, and some went well, some didn't go well. And I think what always kept inspiring me was, how can I keep serving in the ways that feel good to me? And it wasn't until I listened to a podcast. Now, we can get inspiration through books, podcasts, documentaries, movies, whatever it may be. So for me, it was podcasts. I love listening to podcasts. So if you're listening to this, thank you. And obviously you love listening to them too. And when I was listening to the multiple different podcasts that I would listen to, I'd listen to Addicted to Success, Pat Flynn, Robin Sharma, Aubrey Marcus, Joe Rogan, all of these big names. And I remember listening to the Mind Valley podcast with Vision Lakiani and Joel Brown. And Joel said, if you want to have an impact on this world, you need to do these things. You need to write down all the things that you're naturally good at and all the things that you really enjoy and love, and then combine some of those to serve the world in your way. Now, it doesn't have to be a made-up way that no one's doing. It's just, what's a way that feels good to you? What inspires you? So I suggest, if you're wondering for that for yourself, go do that task. Write down the things that you love and are passionate about. Then write down the things that you're naturally good at. Then combine some of those, and how can you serve the world? And for me, I wrote down the things that I loved was meeting new people, connecting with people, traveling the world, having conversations, listening to podcasts, personal growth, all those beautiful things. And then I was like, what am I really good at? I'm good at learning things really quickly. I'm good at speaking. Well, I felt like I was good at speaking. I was good at holding space for people. I was good at making or becoming best friends with someone right away. And I was good at asking questions. But I was also good at putting myself out there, like sharing my story through whatever social media platform. So that led me to, well, if I love all those things, why don't I start a podcast? And 5 years ago, I started the Conscious Podcast. We did 160 episodes. I got to interview some incredible people. And I noticed with every conversation, I got so inspired by these people that were living the life that they wanted to live, making the impact that they wanted to have. Now, whether that impact was just on themselves and their family, or on a community level, or on a world basis, I was just so inspired listening to them. Have you ever read a book and been inspired? Have you ever been to a seminar and been super inspired? And for me, that was a huge source of inspiration. I was like, man, I heard how this person went from A all the way to Z, from where they were to where they are now. Wow, if they can do it, I can too. And I knew that I wanted to be that source of inspiration for other people. So one of the moments that really stands out for me as to why I really want to help people and drive impact through inspiration, through the communities, programs, retreats, everything that I do, this podcast here, is I remember being 21, being overseas. I had just got back from maybe Christmas. I came back home to Australia, had Christmas with family, then went back over to continue the season. And it was a week or two in, and I remember checking my phone, and I seen a notification on Facebook, or I was just scrolling, and it was a friend had written on another friend's wall. And I just hung out with that friend maybe 2 weeks ago, just before I left Australia. And we were good friends. We had a great time. We had a great connection. Such a beautiful soul with so much to offer in this world. And the post on her story was a friend basically saying, I'm so sad you've left us, and I wish I could have done something. And I love you so much. And for me, it hit me. I was like, well, what happened? Where did she go? And then I kept scrolling down, and I realized, there was a lot of rest in pieces, and heaven's now gained another angel, and I realized she took her life. And for me, it hit me on a really deep heart level, because, this wasn't a best friend of mine, but it was someone that I had recently seen and connected with. Yeah, I knew she was going through some stuff, as we all do on any levels, and yes, I was supportive. Like I don't look back and go, I wish I could have said something and it's my fault in any way. But for me, it was like, what if I could have said something, or what if I could have shared something that inspired her to live another day or to, love herself or love her life. And for me, that motivated me and inspired me to want to share this message of, I see you, I feel you, you are worthy, you are loved, and you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Yes, we can be in stuck places, but let's create the life you want to live. And that allowed me to step into all these things that I do now, create a podcast, then create a community from there, then create so many different events, wellness events around the world, to then creating a wellness app, and now starting new with the Inspired HQ and all the inspired community goodness, inspired collective goodness. And it really lights me up. And as I said, I love what I do. I do what I love, and I love what I do. And it's moments like those where I think maybe it was just a little bit more inspiration. I've never been in that spot in my life, but I know that I've found inspiration, whether it was in other people or other things externally. And sometimes they can be fleeting because we compare to that and we go, I can't have that. But one of the big things was, especially on my soccer career, of, being told I'll never make it and being rejected by clubs and all of those things, was I found this belief, this trust, and this inspiration from myself, from looking back at my own story and being like, wow, I've inspired myself. I grew up in a small country town and I am playing soccer, football in Europe. Like, I've made it. Yeah, I didn't make professional. I was semi-pro, but I've made it. Even in business now, like, I hold events where there's 50 to 100 people and I go, wow, yeah, like, I inspire myself. If a kid like me that has the only degree I've got is a degree in kicking a soccer ball, then you can too live your dreams and achieve great things. And I want to inspire that through this podcast, through this message, and through these conversations. I'm friends with and so blessed to be connected with such incredible people around the globe. And to hear their stories and to get inspiration from them, I'm like, I'm too greedy to keep this to myself. I want to share this with all of you so that you can have these experiences and feel this way, because we all deserve that. And it could be one conversation you hear or one point in a conversation that you go, wow, I resonate with that. And now I'm going to go take action. And that action, or that thought to take action, was that ignition, was that inspiration to go do something. So all of these tools, tips, and wisdom are designed to help you live inspired. Living inspired is waking up grateful and going, I get to live this life. I get to create the life I love. Feeling inspired is feeling that excitement, feeling that motivation, that inspiration of, I'm excited to do these things. I'm excited to live life. I'm excited to be me. I'm excited to learn and to grow on this journey of life. And to be inspired is that state of being where you are just naturally inspiring yourself. And when we have that energy from that inspiration, from that spark, from fanning those flames, we can do some pretty crazy stuff and some pretty incredible things. So everything I do, whether on this podcast or outside this podcast, is all to inspire you to be the best version of you. Inspire you to live, feel, and be better in all areas of your life. So if you're joining on this first episode, please, please, please subscribe. Share this with a friend that you know loves inspiration or needs more inspiration in their life. And tune in on all the channels, YouTube, all the podcast streaming platforms. Connect with me on Instagram. Live, feel, be inspired, all dots in between on Instagram. Connect in all the ways. My dream is to inspire as many people around the globe as possible. My dream is to interview some of the most inspiring people you've ever met, from, the single mums that are, getting by with their kids and building businesses, or the athletes, or everyone in between. I feel like there is so many forms and so many cues of inspiration around us. I want this podcast to be a source of inspiration for you, something you can tune into, listen to an incredible conversation, and feel inspired afterwards. Inspired because of their story, but inspired to go take action in whatever way you want to. So again, make sure you are subscribed on all the platforms. I would love it if you took a screenshot and you shared this on your Instagram story and you tagged me, Carlo_Cirillo, and just tune in. There's going to be some incredible episodes coming up. I've already interviewed a bunch of people and they're yet to come out. So I want to share that with all of you and have you experience this for yourself. So again, please make yourself known. Come across and say hello to me on Instagram. I'd love to connect with you. And just remember that inspiration comes in any form, and I want you to look in the mirror and find that inspiration in yourself as well. But also tune into the podcast because there's a lot of inspiration in there too. Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible, inspiring journey. I can't wait to share it all with you. Get ready to listen to my voice a lot more over the coming days and weeks. But also the tools, tips, and wisdom from all the incredible guests and conversations that I have. Can't wait to share it all with you. Take care, everyone, and be inspired. Peace. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode on the podcast. So grateful you took the time to tune in. I'm sure there were many, many points of inspiration in that whole episode. So if anything stood out to you, I suggest you write it down, write it in the notes section on your phone, write it on a piece of paper, and then use that inspiration to start taking action in the direction that you want to go. Make sure you connect on all the social media platforms. Live, feel, be inspired with dots in between the words on Instagram, and go check out myself, Carlo_Cirillo. And also in the show notes below, there will be everything you need, all the details and links to connect with the guest and also myself and all the good things coming up in the world of inspiration and the Inspired Collective. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, be inspired.